Namaste and good morning to everyone. A very warm welcome to our JKYog International Women's Day Conference 2022. I'm so excited today to have an opportunity to host this very first session of the conference and welcome our distinguished guest of honor, Charlotte du Plessis, to this session. Good morning, good afternoon, Charlotte.
Good afternoon. What an amazing opportunity. I'm so honored to be with you today. It's a beautiful day here in South Africa. You know, Sundays are a day of rest, but there's no rest for us ladies. We are trailblazers. So I'm excited to be with you on this incredible day and to celebrate International Women's Day through your conference. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. I'm going to have short introduction of Charlotte, and then we will have your talk, and after that we will have question and answer interactive session to bring more clarity on the topic. So Charlotte du Plessis is the founder and CEO of the Woman of Stature brand, which she officially launched in April 2013. She has succeeded in establishing a successful women's business network in South Africa and across the globe because of her inner ability to form strategic partnerships. Her passion to help women has extended beyond the call of duty, and in 2018, she registered the proudly South African non-profit organization Women of Stature Foundation with a vision to support women through its various programs. Through her foundation, Charlotte has spearheaded the formation of the Women Rise program. She has helped several women to restore their lives and go on become very successful. She is now planning the 7th South African Woman of Stature. Charlotte's most recent achievement is the publishing of a book during lockdown in 2020. Forgotten Woman, the South African story has been entered in the Humanities and Social Sciences book, Creative Collections and Digital Contributions Awards 2022. The proceeds from the sale of the book go to the Forgotten Woman of COVID-19 fundraising project under the Women of Stature Foundation. Charlotte received the Margaret Hirsch Women in Business Achiever Award in 2016. She is a visionary, philanthropist, entrepreneur, and mentor, building her legacy as a tenacious woman who is making a significant impact in the lives of others. Please join me in welcoming Charlotte du Plessis with a big round of applause.
Oh, thank you so much, Shreya. What a lovely introduction, and thank you so much for this incredible warm welcome. And to everyone that is attending your conference, we have a saying, or I have a saying here, and that is showing up here today to be part of the JKYog International Women's Day 2022 conference means that you are intentional, that you have a purpose, that you're purpose-driven. And I hope that what I'm going to share with you today is going to resonate with you and that it'll leave you with something to possibly ponder on as you leave the conference and think about us as women around the world. My talk with you today is the life of a woman in the South Africa of today. a little bit of background of myself is pretty much what I'd like to also incorporate in what it is that I'm going to be speaking to you about today. Now, we do not get to choose our race, our social class, and our culture at birth. As children, we do not get to choose the viability and truth of the beliefs they teach us. In fact, we are praised and lauded for listening to what we are told and for responding accordingly. Yes, my name is Charlotte du Plessis, and I'm a very proud South African woman who in the old South Africa would have been labeled as belonging to the race of the oppressor. In the new South Africa, I may at times still be perceived this way through the eyes of those who still find themselves unhealed from the apartheid past and who have chosen to keep the disease of racism and counter racism into our new democracy. Yes, I, Charlotte du Plessis, I have chosen to celebrate and allow the gift of cultural diversity to serve my grandest vision of uniting and empowering South African women from all walks of life under an organization, as Shreya has already introduced, which I birthed 9 years ago, in fact, April 2013, and it's called Women of Stature. I'm a woman of stature who happened to be born in 1956. I'm giving my age away, but I'm proud. The same year that marginalized South African women decided to protest against the past laws and the inequitable rights of South African women. I believe I am now leading other women to march towards greater levels of sustainable economic and psychological through the powerful national networking and empowerment platform which my organization has created. At the age of 65, actually going on for 66 in April, because that's my birth month as well, I am still demonstrating that age or any other challenge has nothing to do with owning a vision and relentlessly working on a big dream. And oh my goodness, am I a big dreamer. I'm also a destiny seeker. I believe that I'm a peace finder and an inspirer of holistic female empowerment with a particular focus on the economic empowerment of all South African women from all walks of life. Now, while our South African Constitution was democratized in 1994, it never really translated into equitable and fair practices that would truly and sufficiently empower South African women in the workforce, entrepreneurially, and from a human rights perspective. No one can ever develop if they are not given the tools to be witnessed and quantified. Women of Stature, as an organization, we have successfully attempted to do all of the above. Women of Stature seeks to celebrate diversity in all its forms. It also seeks to bridge cultural and social differences that can so easily sabotage the gift of collectivism and the building of an inspired, empowered, collective psyche of South African women who will settle for nothing less than their rightful place in every space, personal and professional. I also believe that as we empower ourselves and assume every bit of responsibility to do so, we are empowering and building a nation of women and men. The only time that abusive and limiting practices can be repeated and recycled is when they are permitted to be. Women of Stature inspires women to become nothing less than the grandest, most authentic version of their economic, social, spiritual, and psychological selves in a non-competitive, non-comparative, and non-critical way. I, as a leader of this organization, will not rest until I have sufficiently promoted empowered women to change the socio-political economic landscape of our beautiful country, South Africa. A highly humanly resourced country in which women are still underrepresented in the workforce, marginalized socially, and domestically abused. It is my vision that Women of Stature channel this message and provide a voice for the devoiced and the voiceless. The book Forgotten Women, a South African Story, which I decided to collaborate with 19 other remarkable women during lockdown in 2020, was birthed exactly in that period of time. We started the project in May of 2020, and on the 31st of July, the book was published as an ebook on Amazon. Now, why did I do this? I did this because I realized that during lockdown and without warning, like a tsunami, the pandemic came down on the entire world. So someone has to stand up and do something. So the book has been written with the intent to reach out and be able to help women that have been affected, whose businesses have quite possibly been completely falling to pieces as a result of the economic decline during that period of time. We realized that we needed to raise funds in order to be able to help these women. And these funds have been put to that use. And as Shreya said earlier on, I was able to help several women whose businesses had come to a complete, utter halt. They had 100% a loss of income. And these are the funding initiatives which, as an organization, I am driving. So the Forgotten Women of COVID-19 is one of the projects that I am driving here in South Africa. And you also heard earlier on that Shreya spoke about the 7th Women of Stature Awards. Yes, on the 12th of March, that's next week's, that would have been the day before this conference, of course. That's on the 12th of March. No, sorry, it's the following week. I beg your pardon. We are actually hosting 7th Women of Stature South African Awards. Now, why do I do this? It's because we need to recognize excellence. We need to recognize the incredible and remarkable women for the work that they are doing, for the immense amount of effort they're putting in to establish businesses, to establish non-profit organizations. And this way we are paying tribute to these women. And this is why International Women's Day is such an important day globally. It's a day where we recognize women. It's a day where we come together and we share stories. We share experiences. And as I am doing, and as I have committed to the empowerment of women and have over the last 9 years been intentional and strategically aligning myself and my organization with industry leaders who are resourceful and who support my vision, which is to give women access to high quality mentoring and training, which will accelerate their personal, professional, financial development. So for me, the women of today, the women today need not fear. The women of today need not hold back. The women of today can break those glass ceilings. But we as women, if we stand together, we will get further along so much quicker. And that's exactly what my organization stands for. It's to help women to fast track them. It's to help women to have access to resources. And that's what collaboration means, which is key to any business. We don't have to be all things to all people, ladies. We can tap in to the skills and to the resources of other businesswomen, because that way we can get so much quicker, get further so much quicker. We can also look at much larger projects by doing that. So empowering comes in many forms. And you, through your organization, through your company, through your business, you be a resource to another woman. So if I may leave you with this thought today, it's really to say, if you can dream it, you can do it. I believe in a serving heart. I believe in contribution. And by making a contribution, you are showing that you are part of a team, and that teamwork makes the dream work. So if you can dream it, you can do it. Truly hearing what I have with you today is going to resonate in some way. And I don't think women in South Africa are very different to women anywhere else in the world. We know that women from all ages and all stages from centuries overcome patriarchy systems in different forms. And that's the essence of the book that we Forgotten Woman, the South African Story, was truly for these women to talk about their personal stories of how they have had to overcome these patriarchy systems and come in different forms. Some are born to a system, and it's really a cultural system that is the woman from actually achieving what she is set up for herself to achieve. She's being held back either by family or, as I say, as a patriarchy system that doesn't honor and recognize the woman. So we are busy building bridges. Ladies, I'm here to share with you today that our first global awards is on the 13th of May in Dubai. I'm doing that in partnership with Dr. Hawa Chaprai, and we are building the bridge between South Africa, the UAE and the UK, the USA, Africa. That is the bridge that we are building. We're connecting the continents, and we're bringing to you an opportunity to be in the room with some of the world's greatest business leaders, an opportunity for you to very possibly be connecting with someone who could be a potential investor in your business. That's the new, that's the now. Ladies, the pandemic has changed the face of how we do things. We've all gone virtual, but we still have to remain connected. And remaining connected can be in so many different ways. But I want to reach out to you today and say, let us take hands, let us unite as women of stature, as women of integrity, as women with passion and commitment. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Shreya. And I'm sure, you know, this is going to lead to many other opportunities and wonderful opportunities. So I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. Totally very inspiring to see how you have taken up this cause and working through the organization that you have formed, Women of Stature Foundation, and helping South African women. And I love the concept of holistic empowerment, economic, social upliftment, and so much more. So before I get into other questions, first I would like to learn about your journey. What influenced you to explore establishing the Women of Stature? How did you start this foundation? What was the thought process? What was your background and upbringing that kind of led you into this? If you can share and narrate your story, I'm sure it would be inspiring.
Thank you, Shreya. I'd love to share my story. And, you know, in this, my talk now, I mentioned the fact that I was born in 1956. And in fact, in 1956, over 20,000 women marched to the Union buildings in Pretoria to deliver the petitions against past laws. And little did I know, as I was being birthed into this world and into South Africa, that the time would come where I would be standing as a leader of a women's organization. So 1956 holds a very significant and symbolic, it's a symbolic year, because since that day, the 9th of August, we have celebrated Women's Day in South Africa as the National Women's Day. So for me, 1956 is where it all started. And as any child, you know, I was born into a loving family. I had an incredibly happy childhood. And then what happened as I grew older, I started to realize that I wanted to make a difference. I really wanted to make an impact. In fact, my parents used to often say that they can't understand what it was about me, but I was always searching for something. And that searching for something clearly was an inner feeling that I wasn't accept just who I am as I am. I was going to go and find a better me. And that's when my journey started. So I actually started a journey very early on where I was getting involved in various charity organizations. And then in 2001, I had my very first Woman of, well, I call it the Woman of the Year Awards then because I hadn't given a name yet. But what had led me to that point, of course, is an incident. And like it is with many, many of us, it causes an incident, or an incident causes you to take or to veer and take a different direction in your life. And the incident that happened in my life was that my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. And we as a family, of course, we were completely mortified by the fact that she was diagnosed. And I think at that moment in time, I also then realized I need to give back. I need to give back into some form of either through fundraising or caregiving into the Cancer Association of South Africa. And that's where I started really becoming active in the empowerment of women. So the empowerment of women comes through the type of initiatives. When a woman is part of an initiative, it's not only the initiative that's going to benefit from this woman and what she is going to be doing and, you know, the effort that she puts in, but the woman herself. And that's what I should notice, is that the transformation that was happening with women as they were becoming involved in what I was initiating. And then I thought to myself, but it's not about the fundraising anymore, Shreya. That wasn't what it was about. It was now the transformation of this woman, how she was stepping out of her comfort zone, how she was actually starting to evolve. And so many of the ladies that I have connected with many years now that I've been doing this have said that's exactly how they felt, that they were transforming as women. So for me, it has been a journey of self-transformation. As I'm journeying along, doing what I'm doing, whether it be the business that I was in at the time, I was running my own business for a number of years, and prior to that I was working in corporate, but it was very, I was always intrigued by how women can be affected and impacted by my behavior. And my behavior was, what can I do to support this woman and to help her to grow and nurture her into being the best possible product of her own doing, not me, her own. So I would purely be an instrument and guide her. And then finally, I would see how she's flourishing, how she's actually coming into her own. And to me, that's the most wonderful experience, is when somebody turns around and says, you've changed me, Charlotte, you've changed my life, you've given me hope, you've helped me to conquer this. And I think this is what I'm saying earlier on. Don't fear. Fear is good, but fear can also drive you away from reaching your goals. But fear the right things and not the wrong things. And the other thing to realize, Shreya, and it's so important, is listening to good advice. Consider good advice and be careful who you get advice from. That's another thing that I've realized. We can sometimes allow ourselves to be influenced by so many people that don't necessarily have your best interests at heart. So for me, it's always been a case of I am becoming more and more conscious of how I respond to advice. And that innate or that gut feeling, I think we can all talk about that gut feeling, is when you know something doesn't feel right or isn't sitting well with you, question it.
Thank you, Charlotte. So I'm so really inspired that even though when you had a difficult situation and loss of your mother, how you chose to do something positive and help people. And you are saying that in the process you have helped your own self. You have transformed from within while helping others, and that is so true and is coming out here. So just want to understand, you are helping the Women of Stature Foundation organization. Is it helping women in businesses? You also talked about socially, psychologically abused women, and there are so many domestic issues, business, women, economic empowerment. So what are the areas your organization is helping out, and is it all over South Africa, or how? What is the scope of where women can receive this guidance? If you can please elaborate on that.
Absolutely, and thank you for that question, because it's very important. We certainly cannot be all things to all people, Shreya. That is impossible for us to do. So we have got a niche. Our niche market is the businesswoman. Now, when we say the businesswoman, she could be employed in business, or she could be an owner of her own business. And why we have, why I have actually decided to have a niche profile, if I can call it, of this woman, is because there are already so many organizations that are doing amazing work and that are already specializing in women who are coming from very abusive backgrounds, relationships, who may have been abused as a child, and there is a very, one's got to be very careful that you don't tread into areas that you are not knowledgeable in. And there's definitely an area that one needs to consider when it comes to anybody that has suffered any form of abuse. So what our organization is specializing in is the woman whose business has been affected by circumstances beyond her control. And little did I know, when I registered the organization in 2018, and the first year was pretty much the development of the organization, development of systems, development of infrastructure, that in 2019, November 2019, when I officially launched it, that within 3 or 4 months from that moment on, we would have a global pandemic and go into lockdown. So many women who have suffered as a result of the global pandemic. Companies were closing down. Women were losing their businesses. There were women that were literally shut down overnight. And quite a number of the ladies that are members of my organization were these women, where within 24 hours, they'd lost all their contracts. So for me, it's about being, being mindful of not misrepresenting myself or my organization, and being seen as, first of all, a financial institution, which is definitely what we're not. We're not able to financially help a woman back on her feet necessarily. And we're also not psychologists. We are not lawyers. We are not necessarily going to be able to give her everything she needs if she is in a space of physical, emotional abuse by either a partner or family and so on. So our main focus is to look at the woman whose business has been affected, see how we can help us to re-establish her business. But with saying that, there is a certain amount of emotional trauma that is suffered by this woman, Traya, because the minute you see that you are losing everything that you have worked for, you've put everything, maybe you've put your entire financial situation into this business, and you see this crumbling in front of you. This causes tremendous emotional trauma. So we, by certainly looking at life coaching, we would certainly help this woman to recover emotionally, to get back to a place where she can function, have a healthy, functioning ability to get back onto her feet to be able to run her business again. So what we have, however, identified over these last 2 years is that we would rather partner with organizations that are running programs that are specifically for women coming from a situation such an abusive relationship. And that abusive relationship could have an impact on her, that she is in fact not able to work, or she may lose her business as a result of financial abuse. But then there are organizations that have got programs that are already established. But rather than have a strategic part with these organizations, which we already have done and are already doing, and then they, in their capacity of being specialized in those areas, would then help that woman in that specific area. And then we can continue to look at her business. So that's the way that we have positioned ourselves organization.
Thank you, Charlotte. So happy to see that you are now focused into business women and trying to help them grow emotionally, recovery, or skills or training. Do you have any can you give any glimpses of life of a woman or stories that have really touched you during the past few years? And you also mentioned about pandemic. So many people all around the world were affected, whether it's men or women. But I'm sure you have come across somebody who has really benefited immensely through the effort that you are running. If you could share some one or two inspiring story of that.
With the greatest of, I've got quite a few stories, but I think let's just pin it down to one story. And I'm going to speak about someone that I've recently actually been introduced to, because I think her circumstances actually over a period of many years. She was in a very abusive marriage, so she's a victim of gender-based violence. And she heard about me quite some time back, and she connected me. In fact, she sent me I think it was on a Facebook Messenger, or it could have been LinkedIn, where she sent me a message. She said, I would be honored to meet you. Those were her words to me. I would be honored to meet you. And I in turn responded back to her, and I said, well, I'd be honored to meet you too. And then we actually did come together, and it's amazing what this woman has gone through and what she has accomplished beyond, beyond any, doubt that what I've helped her to realize is that she has got so much strength inside of her that she's able to overcome the biggest challenge and the biggest decision that she had to make, and that was to leave this abusive relationship. Now, the reason why she came to me, and going back to the fact that I'm saying my market is a niche market and it's a businesswoman, is she is starting, or she had just started her business, and she was clearly starting it out of sheer desperation. And the reason why she had to start it is because she had actually been retrenched as a result of the pandemic. Company that she was working for, she had a very senior position, and she was retrenched. And things were getting worse and worse and worse. Her husband wasn't working. He was apparently an addicted gambler, and became very abusive towards her as things got worse and worse. So the help that I was able to give her was to help her to establish a sound foundation for her business, because she was cooking out of a kitchen, a home kitchen. She's an Indian lady, and she thought, well, I know how to cook a good curry, and that's what she had started doing. So cooking a good curry and getting it out into the marketplace was relatively, well, it was difficult, but relatively easy, because she had a good network of people that were going to support her. But the thing that was starting to show signs of trouble was that her business didn't have a sound infrastructure. The systems, the business systems weren't there yet. The financial system was not there. So that was where I started with her, is to say the first thing we have to look at is your financial system. How are you running your business? Do you have a proper bookkeeping system? She said, no to all my questions. I said, well, that's where we're going to start. We're going to start making sure that you know exactly what your income is, what your expenditure is, and what your profit margin is. And then your costing in your business. Are you costing correctly so that you have a good profit margin? And I think for me, that was an incredible opportunity to help someone who was already in a space of realizing that she needed to leave a relationship. It was difficult for her to do, but she needed to do it. So that was point number one. And point number two, she tapped into an inner resource, and that was a born skill, which is cooking, that every woman should be able to do. But all of that, putting all of that together and not having sound business knowledge, it could have meant ultimately the failure of her business. So that's really where I believe the help lies, is just to help this lady to understand the basic fundamental principles of an entrepreneurial business, which is, your own business. And an entrepreneur isn't born. You're not born into being an entrepreneur. Some may have a skill to start businesses, but the skill lies with how do you sustain a business. It's very easy sometimes to make money, but how do you on to that money? And how do you understand the basic financial returns of a business and putting money back in business in order for that business to be able to be sustainable? And those are the things that I've learned, Shreya, over the many years that I'm in business. There's a saying, come easy, go. It's much easier to let go of money than what it is to hold on to money. And I think that's the secret to business success, is to understand how to hold on to it and how to make money work for you.
Beautiful, Charlotte. I love the concept that you are actually helping at grassroots level with women who are trying to, stand on their feet and trying to grow, and you are their support system, backbone to empower them. So beautiful. Thank you so much. So that leads me to a next question I have, is that I'm sure the work that you have started, it's a lot of effort, and there must be difficulties and barriers that you had to face in your country to get to where you are, or in developing the women, or in the roles in society, business, philanthropy, whatever. So I just wanted would like to share what are the difficulties and challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them? Because none of us have silver plate that everything works out perfectly and it just happens, right?
I think my biggest barrier or challenge was, I think, I was obviously born in an era where, and coming from an Afrikaans family, I had I had a wonderful childhood. But coming from an Afrikaans family, and being a girl, in those days, you were basically expected to obviously, make matric, and then you were expected to get married and have babies. And that really was that era. I mean, it was seldom that you found that a woman was going to school or was entering into a career path that's anything other than hairdressing, or teaching was maybe one of the ones, but very little else was really available for us in that era. And I guess the barriers or the challenges that I faced was the fact that I just wouldn't accept it. And I said I wanted more, I'll do more, and I will go to places and I will experience things. So just to give you a little story, which is actually, when I think back of it now, and I think to myself, I was actually taking a chance. But so my dad believed that I had to stay home until I eventually got married. And that was the norm in our home, and that was that in the Afrikaans culture. And I thought, I couldn't do that. So I thought, okay, but the only way I'm going to be able to really stretch my wings is to become an air hostess. And I actually went and I applied to be an air hostess without my parents' knowledge. And I thought, well, I probably won't get it anyway. I won't be accepted. And in fact, I was accepted. And blow me down, I got this letter to say that you'd been accepted. I was going to be interviewed, first and foremost, be interviewed. So I went, and I obviously had to sit in front of this panel, and I was questioned and crossed. And eventually I got the letter to say that I'd been accepted into the academy and that I'm now going to become an air hostess. And then I had to go and sit in front of my parents and tell them what I had done. And, you know, so there was a challenge that I was facing, because I had parents that didn't want me to do that, because the first thing it was going to do is going to take me out of my hometown. I had to travel by road to get to the airport, which was, that time it was Jan Smuts International Airport, because I come from a very small town in a country town. So again, there was a barrier that I had to climb over. And I had the courage of my conviction, and I went to my dad and them and I said, here, I've been accepted as an air hostess. And my dad had to sign for me because I was under the age of 21. And he obviously he shook his head, and at the time, I can't remember his exact words, but I'm sure he must have blabbered out something about the fact that I'd gone against his will to do it. But that's exactly it. That's exactly it. If sometimes you have to go against the will of your parents or your husband or your family, you know, to be able to accomplish something that you really, truly believe you will be good at. I was a very, very good air hostess. I loved it. It was something that I always wanted to do, and it gave me the biggest thrill. And then one day when I decided I'd had enough of it, I went directly into the industry. And industry for 32 years. So I guess, yes, that to me was a barrier, just not being able to always do what I want to do, only because of getting back to a patriarchy system.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you so much. From all this experience working with so many women and different situations, what is the most important advice that you would give for all of us for uplifting women? What do you think is the most important, and we all can keep in mind, and that you would share from your experience?
Well, I would really say to have a serving heart. For me, you know, uplifting women, you have to have a serving heart. Point number one. And, you know, and I said it earlier on, is never to expect anything, you know, always to know, you know, when you lean in and you're willing to serve, you will find it attracts people. You know, you magnetize people through how you present yourself and what you represent as a person. But as a woman, I honestly believe that I'm a people's person. I've been blessed with that I'm able to interact very easily with people. I know that not everybody is the same, but when you have a serving heart and you have a sincerity about you, people recognize it. People see it. When you're authentic, you're real. You know, people do see it. And as much as what you can, there's a saying, you can fake it until you make it. Well, you can only fake it for so long, unfortunately. People do start to pick up if there's sincerity. So I would say being sincere, you know, your heart must be in the right place, serving, contribution, which is all the values. Those are my values. My values are very clear. My organization's values are very, very clear. And it's really about gratitude, being grateful. You know, gratitude is a value that is so important to me, because whenever I am faced with something that is being given to me, an opportunity such as this, is to really show your gratitude. Because obviously those people, you, Shreya, you and Ramisha, who said to me, you've seen something in me And I have to be grateful to you for recognizing that. And for me, those are the values. It's your value system, and about believability. How believable are you? Are you true to your word? Shreya, there's a thing about you can speak a lot, but do you do a lot? Because speaking and doing are two totally different things. So it really is about sincerity, gratitude, contribution, having a serving heart. And if I can say to you, it can be a long time to get to where I am today, Shreya. It hasn't happened overnight. There's that says Rome wasn't built in a day. And it really is true. And, I've been building on my Rome now for many, many years. There's no quick scheme. And money isn't everything. If you work for money, very possibly it's not going to happen. But if you work for a cause and you work for a purpose, everything else just follow.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, thank you so much, Charlotte, for sharing this. We are almost reaching to an end of an hour here. I want to ask the last question, that there are many young women who are watching this. They are thinking about their career, their businesses. So what is the message we would like to give out to them? What is it that they should consider, think about it? What is the foundation they should establish in order to have higher probability of success?
That's very important. And as young people, we tend to have what we expectations. But there's one thing I can advise anyone, whether you're a young girl, whether you're a middle-aged woman, doesn't matter what season you're in. Let's put it that way, because I now refer to seasons, because it's about taking one step at a time and also not trying to do many things at once. Focus on, you might have to try a couple of different things. I would say be very, very careful that you don't dilute yourself to the degree that you can't give what you're trying to do enough attention. And get yourself, from an early point in life, get yourself mentors. And I certainly, as a woman now, have seen how business coaching has helped my business. I've had a business coach for 5 years, and I believe through mentors, and I've had some amazing mentors over the many years that I've been, and I don't think it even has to be an official mentor. Sometimes we just see somebody that we look up to, and they don't even have to know that we're watching them, but they become our mentor through maybe reading about them or listening maybe to podcasts that they have. Do that, and try not to do too many things at once. Focus on something, get that to actually come to fruition. When you see it successful, move on to the next project. But taking on too many things at once could actually be your ultimate downfall.
Thank you, Charlotte, for answering that. And it's been a wonderful session, inspiring, especially your own journey, how you have taken up this cause and how you are so committed, selflessly serving and uplifting women and helping them with businesses, providing guidance. Truly appreciate you being part of our JKYog International Women's Day Conference today. And I have personally enjoyed this session, and I'm sure all the women across the world have immensely benefited from our conversation today. Want to thank you for being part of JKYog conference today.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Charlotte, and have a good one. Namaste. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm Arnima.
I'm Nitin Kaushal.
My name is Tanya.
I'm Mohit.
I'm Durga Natamai.
I'm Smita Mehta.
I'm Teja Jasani.
I'm an associate professor of special education at the University of North Texas.
An IT engineer from hospitality industry.
Director Cybersecurity at a financial institution.
And I work in the IT industry.
And I'm a software professional.
Homeopathic physician and a counselor by profession.
My name is Preeti Talati. I am a hypnotherapist and a yoga teacher.
I'm Ajay. I'm a consultant.
I'm Sandhya Bhatia, a postdoctoral researcher in a medical institute.
I'm here to call out the bias against the working women after they embrace motherhood. A world free of stereotypes and bias.
Whether deliberate or unconscious, bias makes it difficult for women to move ahead.
I broke the bias when I was deployed to Iraq, and Iraqi male soldiers were taken aback when they saw me, working alongside other male soldiers.
I can break the bias and help create a world
where differences are valued and celebrated.
Today, I would like to ask all of you to acknowledge and identify the unconscious biases that we have in our minds.
Knowing about bias is one thing, but calling it out and taking action is another.
Anytime when you see a gender bias or a stereotype or a gender discrimination, will you actively call out?
You can, I can, together we all can make this world a more level playing field for women.
Eradicating the stereotype of associating gender with competency. Break the bias.
Break the bias. I can break the bias.
Break the bias.
I can break the bias.
Break the bias.
Break the bias.
Break the bias.
To break the bias. Are you in?